Hi, I'm Kristen Oakes-White.
And I'm Avery Davidson. Thank you for joining us for This Week in Louisiana Agriculture, the only TV show bringing Louisiana farmers and consumers together every week.
You will soon see a familiar face on the cover of an upcoming issue of the Progressive Farmer magazine.
At the 2018 DTN, the Progressive Farmer Ag Summit in Chicago, Illinois, Bobby Morris received an award as one of America's best young farmers and ranchers. His wife, Melissa, surprised him by entering him into the contest.
This is where Bobby and Melissa Morris would normally be at this time of year, harvesting sugarcane with their sons Tyler and Dylan. But this year, they're in Chicago for the 2018 DTN, the Progressive Farmer Ag Summit. The reason? Melissa entered Bobby to be one of America's best young farmers and ranchers.
I did surprise him with it, and it was a follow-up to the Achievement Award that we had won, and then he was selected as 40 under 40 in the Baton Rouge Business Report. And like you said, we're knocking on 40's door, and that's when it's all over with. So it was one more that we could do, and it's the biggest, so it's a big honor.
Yes, it is.
What's this experience been like for you, coming here to Chicago, coming to your first DTN Ag Summit?
Well,
it's cold.
Yeah, it is cold. You know, the biggest thing is just explaining our story to people. You know, it's we don't farm grain, we farm sugarcane. So and that is something some people didn't even know was in the United States. You know, they didn't know it was in Louisiana. So just explaining our story to them, it's been fun.
Good thing we had a bunch of pictures on our phone, because that's how we've been sharing our story with them, to explain the process and how different it is from grain. They don't understand the ratoon crop and how it comes back year after year. So we've been explaining our story a lot in the last 3 days.
4 other farm families from across the country share the honor. For Bobby and Melissa, it's an honor to be in such an elite group.
We've met some great farmers over here, and just to be in the category with those guys, it's amazing.
Included in this year's honorees are grain farmers and cattle ranchers, so the Morrises are a little different.
We don't farm grain, we farm sugarcane. So, and that is something some people didn't even know was in the United States. You know, they didn't know it was in Louisiana. So just explaining our story to them, it's been fun.
Louisiana Farm Bureau State Board member and Caddo Parish cattleman Marty Woodridge spoke at the DTN Ag Summit. He's previously graced the cover of the Progressive Farmer as one of America's best young farmers and ranchers.
You know, Bobby and Melissa Morris, great friends through growing up with them through our Young Farmer and Rancher program, having them on my committee, serving with them on the state board and what have you. It is so great to bring another Farm Bureau, Louisiana Farm Bureau family to Chicago and see them recognized for the great things they do.
Over the 9 years that DTN, the Progressive Farmer, has named America's best young farmers and ranchers, fellow West Baton Rouge sugarcane farmer Clayton Hurdle and Caddo Parish cattleman Marty Woodridge have shared in the honor. Morris will soon join the other 4 farm families on the cover of the February issue of the Progressive Farmer magazine.
Well, a Tensas Parish farmer is also receiving honors for excellence in agriculture. Jay Hardwick is the Field to Market 2018 Farmer of the Year. The award is given to a farmer who's committed to advancing sustainable agriculture through conservation and stewardship. You've seen Hardwick on TWILA before, recently as the MC for an event celebrating 700,000 acres in wetlands reserve easements. Hardwick says he wants to pass his farm down to his sons, and to do that, he must work with the land and treat it as a living organism. This is the second year Field to Market gives Sustainability Leadership Awards. To learn more about Field to Market or to watch the video the Alliance produced about Hardwick's award, visit our website at twilatv.org.
Congress has yet to move on a bill introduced by Louisiana 5th District Congressman Ralph Abraham that would extend the market facilitation program to planted soybean acres rather than harvested acres. That's the $12 billion aid package meant to help farmers recover some losses due to trade issues with China. Abraham's bill is H.R. 7147, a bill he filed after U.S. Secretary of Agriculture Sonny Perdue toured Louisiana. It was during that tour that Perdue said he would offer the MFP to Louisiana soybean farmers who had their crops destroyed by weather right at harvest if his hands were not tied by the law specifying harvested acres. Perdue spoke at the 2018 DTN, the Progressive Farmer Ag Summit in Chicago. Following his speech, I asked Secretary Perdue his thoughts on Abraham's bill and his response was less than optimistic.
Not sure that Congress will have the opportunity to discuss that in a meaningful way prior to that, but if they give us the opportunity for a 2018 supplemental and give us the discretion that we had last year, that might be something that USDA can look at in that way. Probably dealing with more in a supplemental disaster bill, more so than the marketing program that we had already announced.
Many congressional meetings were canceled this week following the death of President George H.W. Bush, which set back movement of the 2018 Farm Bill through the conference committee. Congressman Abraham is one of the conferees on the House side.
Well, the top story from this year is what has been described as the perfect storm that hit Louisiana soybean farmers. It started out as looking like one of the best crops on record, and some farmers did get amazing yields. However, a combination of bad weather and market conditions that stopped the crop from moving made it a total disaster for some farmers, like Richard Fontenot, who told TWILA's Neil Melanson that he lost more than 2/3 of his crop in 2 weeks.
Last week, we went out to Clayton Hurdle's sugarcane farm, where the crop is growing fairly well. Across the levee, inside the Atchafalaya Basin, Hurdle also has a soybean crop, which is also doing well.
Pretty good shape. Got most of the crop out, got a little bit left. I've got storage, so that helps a lot when you're talking about damage and some high moisture.
Hurdle's neighbors to the west, though, aren't nearly as lucky.
This is this field.
Here, Neil Fontenot is showing some of the damaged beans from his farm near Ville Platte. The constant rains have caused some of them to turn white with mold, as you can see here. He's showing it to Todd Spivey, a soybean expert with the LSU Ag Center, who says prior to Labor Day, we were on track for a bumper crop of soybeans in Louisiana.
A lot of the beans that were harvested in late August, really right around Labor Day, and in the first couple weeks of September, again, like I mentioned, they were really good. We saw some really good yields across the state, fields averaging in the 90s up north, fields averaging in the 60s and 70s on the cane ground. In the southwest part of the state, we heard some numbers as high as close to 50.
All of that changed with the nonstop September rains. Spivey said the rains have kept a third of the crop in the fields, where it might stay permanently.
We're going to lose a lot of harvested acres there, and then those ones that are harvested, the yields are going to be way down and damage is going to be way up.
Richard Fontenot, who farms with his brother Neil, is one of those southwest Louisiana farmers facing severe damage.
Well, in September we went ahead and we sprayed our burn down, if you will, and defoliant, and in anticipation of coming in our 14-20 days after that, start harvesting. And when we did come in that time period, we've had 7-8 days of consecutive rainfall, and the crop deterioration was so rapid that when we finally got here, we had a product that was no longer marketable.
Spivey says that when a crop is sprayed with the defoliant and it rains, the moisture has nowhere to go but into the seed pod, and that's where problems start.
The pods and the beans in the field, they'll still draw in some of that moisture, and with no leaves on the plant, with no really good way to move that water off, that plant just kind of sits there holding on to that water, and that's going to allow us some disease issues to set in. We'll see some beans begin to rot as they just sit there in that water, in that moisture.
The rot results in this, piles of soybeans that will stay in the field. What I can't show you is the smell of this rot, which pervades 1,000 acres of Richard Fontenot's land. 1,000 acres, he says, will likely be plowed under.
You got a big area in southwest Louisiana had the same dynamic impact. They had a few more rains as you travel a little southwest, but unfortunately their plight is similar to ours in terms of the rainfall and harvest delays and deterioration of crops in the field. We got a lot of farmers out there that have a lot of soybeans that will not be harvested this coming year, and it's going to have a dynamic impact in the southwest part of the state as well as other areas.
Fontenot is fortunate in that he has a second crop in rice, as well as on-farm storage that many farmers in Louisiana do not. Even with these assets, it's still going to be a tough year for him and across the state. For This Week in Louisiana Agriculture, I'm Neil Melanson.
Richard Fontenot has been featured on many national programs, including the Nightly Business Report on PBS and CNBC, highlighting the disaster that hit many farmers this year. Hopefully, that new bill from Representative Abraham will be able to help farmers like Fontenot. Plus, the talk from the recent G20 summit is both the U.S. and China have promised no new tariffs in the new year.
Louisiana Governor John Bel Edwards is working on his plans for the next Louisiana legislative session. But earlier this year, he was working on a boat. As we continue our look back at our favorite stories from 2018, we take you back to the water for Governor Edwards' working tour.
With a flock of seagulls for an audience, Louisiana Governor John Bel Edwards learns that shrimping ain't easy. Aboard Le Bon Papa, Governor Edwards gets lessons in how to shovel the catch off the deck, remove the fish from the shrimp, and how to sort shrimp. It's hard work, but something Edwards says he wanted to do.
This is important to our economy, it's important to tourism, it's important to our culture and our way of life. And so to be able to spend a day down here, just a special day for me, and I will tell you, very rewarding.
Prior to going out on a shrimp boat, Governor Edwards spent time at Motivated Seafoods in Houma to meet with those involved in the oyster industry. Fourth-generation oyster grower John Tesvich is chairman of the Oyster Task Force. He's concerned about proposed diversions from the Mississippi River into Barataria Bay and Breton Sound. He says the combination of fresh water and silt intended to rebuild the coast would kill oysters.
We're talking about, hundreds of millions of dollars of impact annually on one diversion. And so if you put a diversion on each side of the river, you're talking about, a couple of $100 million a year just in oyster damages.
Jack Modise is the Secretary of Wildlife and Fisheries. He says there's a good reason why Governor Edwards is taking so many notes.
I know the governor. He's going to instruct us to look at what are things that we can do to either soften the blow or help the industry to not only stay where they're at, but allow them to grow in the process.
It's a tough situation because we have simply got to restore our coast. We have to create more protection from hurricanes and other storms. And when we do that, there's going to be some disruption visited upon people. We need to try to minimize that, fully mitigate it if possible, if not minimize it. And so we have to have a plan going forward.
Back out on the shrimp boat south of Cocodrie, Governor Edwards shares a few moments with Wildlife and Fisheries Commissioner Jerry Smitko and her granddaughter. Smitko imparts to the governor just how much commercial fishermen have in common with farmers and ranchers.
Commercial fishermen work hard to make a living. They face a lot of adversity, whether it's the weather or the tides or the hurricanes and the price, equipment breakdowns. But they're resilient people, they're giving people, and I think the greatest aspect of the industry are the people that make it up.
And after a full day of hard work, Governor Edwards is ready to take what he's learned back to Baton Rouge, along with little Lanyap.
I guess my favorite thing is I'm bringing a bag of shrimp home, and I'm looking forward to eating those shrimp.
That really was a fun day out on the water. I remember we were at Motivated Seafood before going out on the boat, and it was rainy, it was stormy, it was looking nasty, and then right when we got out there to Cocodrie getting ready to head out on the boat, the skies cleared and everything was fine. And the really neat thing was Governor Edwards, it was like he would have been doing that anyway. Even when my camera was off, he had the shovel in hand, getting the shrimp up off of the deck and putting them into the ice chest.
Well, I know it was interesting to see him in that fashion. I know any other time that you probably would have done a story on him, it might have been in front of a press conference or something like that. So it's cool to get to see him in that light,
Yeah, that's the cool thing about being able to go back and look at these stories again. You're reminded of all the cool things that we've been able to cover. And what's been your favorite so
Well,
far?
we've done some great stories. I always love seeing, the farmer profiles, seeing what farmers do on a day-to-day basis, because that's what makes the organization tick, and that's what makes us tick as well.
And what a great segue to the teas.
Well, still to come on TWILA, we're going to take a look at all this year's winners from this year's Louisiana Farm Bureau Federation 96th Annual Convention.
One of those winners will be competing again at the American Farm Bureau Convention in January. We'll look at their farm right after the break.
The Louisiana Farm Bureau Convention in New Orleans is where more than 1,500 farm families come together to honor their accomplishments over the last year.
And at the 96th Annual Convention, the youth took center stage, especially at the talent contest. Ashton and Ivan Aucoin of Calcasieu Parish won first place in the junior division with their single fiddle performance of Bayou Pompon. Braley Bentavenia of East St. James Parish performed a matador-style tap dance to win the senior division.
Jamie Boudreaux Lee of Vermilion Parish is the winner of the 2018 Louisiana Farm Bureau Excellence in Agriculture Award. This award is designed to recognize young farmers and ranchers who do not earn the majority of their income from an owned agricultural operation, but are actively contributing and growing through their involvement in Farm Bureau and the agriculture industry.
Casey Luckett of East Baton Rouge Parish was the 2018 Louisiana Farm Bureau Young Farmers and Ranchers Outstanding Young Farm Woman. Luckett has a farm in Pride, Louisiana, where she and her husband Derek grow fruits and vegetables and sell them directly to consumers. They also recently opened a corn maze. The top prize for any parish farm bureau is the President's Award. For the second year in a row, the Louisiana Farm Bureau Federation recognized the Rapides Parish Farm Bureau with that President's Award. Rapides Parish Farm Bureau President Bill Cheek accepted the award from Louisiana Farm Bureau Federation President Ronnie Anderson.
Jacob and Carrie Rumbaugh of Caddo Parish received the Louisiana Farm Bureau Young Farmers and Ranchers Achievement Award. The Rumbaughs manage 1,300 acres of wheat, soybeans, corn, and cattle pastures in Dixie, Louisiana. The Achievement Award recognizes farmers and ranchers under the age of 35 who have a thriving operation and a strong involvement in Farm Bureau.
Which leads us to Kristen's favorite part of the show, because prior to winning that award, TWILA's Carl Wiggers brought you this profile of Jacob and Carrie Rumbaugh.
It's one of Carl's favorite stories from 2018.
Every morning, Jacob and Carrie Rumbaugh start working on a long list of daily chores on their farm in Dixie, Louisiana. Feed the cattle, check. Water the beans, check. Work the goats, check. But the work doesn't stop there. With more than 1,300 acres of wheat, soybeans, and corn, 340 head of commercial cattle, and 2 little ones, managing the farm and the family is a full-time job. It's a labor of love that runs in the family for this young farming couple.
Growing up, we hoed cotton. You get to see the value of the dollar, you get to see the value of hard work. You know, it really sets you up well for really, any type of life. So with the kids, it's the same way, they can see how hard we work.
Jacob and Carrie say this job allows them to share lots of life lessons from the farm with their 2 children, Ada and Reed.
They know where that food came from. They know where the meat came from. They know you don't go to a grocery store to pick those things up. They know there was an entire process behind the scenes that most people have no idea it exists.
My kids are outside, they're working, they're learning, and they're with us. They learn all about life and death. They learn about profit and loss.
They get to see calves born, they get to see the calves grow, they get to see them sell, and then they know that that's what puts food on our table at the end of the day.
This is exactly how George Rumbaugh raised his boys. Now Jacob says working with his father allows them a unique opportunity to use their strengths to make their farm run better than ever before.
With agriculture these days, with the commodity markets we currently have, you either have to be really big or you have to be really creative.
This need to be creative is why Jacob uses so much technology on his farm today.
For me, it's the technology, just the younger generation. We're just more comfortable with the technology, and we're going to use that to become better farmers.
Now we have the software, and Jacob writes all the programs himself, and it's pretty nice to have somebody that knows tech. When there's a problem, I say Jacob. So that works real well.
That technology includes precision application for planting, fertilizer, and chemicals to ensure they get the most from their land. This precision and attention to data is also their approach with their cattle.
Well, Carrie checks them every other day. She's going to check and see if they flossed the night before. She's going to spend 3 hours in the pasture. It's unbelievable.
She knows more about the cows than we do.
Checking water, checking fences, checking for sick calves. I started keeping an electronic record of all of our calving.
And gray bull born 5-7. So we're going to know the cattle that aren't producing for us. The ones that may have taken 18 months to breed back. The cattle that lost a calf last year. Sometimes that's hard to tell. Sometimes you can get it wrong. Well, she's going to know.
One more thing she knows is that her kids are learning the importance of agriculture firsthand.
We actually sold some of our corn to Tyson, and the other day my daughter and I were in Sam's and she saw a big bag of Tyson chicken in the freezer, and she got out and she said, "Mom, look, it's Tyson chicken. These chickens ate some of our corn." And so that was really cool for me to know that she knew that, and she was proud that she had a part in that, I guess you could say.
There's value in what we do. We're feeding the world. There's 2% of us out there now in the United States, that feeds the rest of the country. And to me, there's a lot of value value in that. It's just a sense of pride, you know, a sense of hard work, you know, pride in what you're doing.
To learn more about the Rumbaugh family, head on over to our website to see a TWILA extra about the ways Jacob and Carrie use precision agriculture on their farm.
Still to come on TWILA, a certain someone we know started a new segment this year.
It's been a blooming good time, I tell you. We're going to look at some of your favorite holiday plants when we come back. Stay with us.
This year we launched a new segment called Blooming on the Bayou, and this really highlights something you love a lot, Kristen.
I do love me some gardening, Avery, and this segment gave me an excellent opportunity to dig into what I love best. Most of all this year, I got to meet some great experts in the field who helped all of us grow better gardens. This week I'm going to show you some of my favorite highlights from Blooming on the Bayou. Hey y'all, welcome to my backyard, where this week we're kicking off a brand new segment called Blooming on the Bayou, where we're going to talk about everything from vegetable gardening to landscaping and flowers and everything in between. Know what you're thinking. How on earth are we going to do a Blooming on the Bayou? Well, let's go see if we can find some green space. So the first thing that we're going to do today is till it up. It's kind of like holding on to a horse. I get that. I mean, the flavor of it is okay, but if you're a texture person, that is a very strange. It's like an oyster.
Yeah, it is almost. You're right. It's like eating an oyster.
So, a raw oyster. You know, there's no turning back now, and I'm trying not to cut any of the bugs. Up and see, they're already crawling out. Oh my gosh, they're crawling up my pants leg. They're crawling up my pants leg. They're in my pants. They're in my shoe. Oh my gosh, get them off, get them off, get them off, get them off, get them off. See, how much fun are these? I mean, how many times do you get to play with 1,500 ladybugs all at once? Until then, we'll see you next time on Bloomin' on the Bayou. And I'd like to give a very special thank you to Carl Wiggers, who traveled with me and helped shoot the video segments all year long. It definitely would not have turned out as pretty as you saw without Carl's help.
Well, you know, you're a shooter as well, but Carl does have that cinematic eye.
I mean, you just can't shoot all that by myself, though. He really made the segment what it was.
Yeah, because he brings in that, like I said, that cinematic sort of film-esque look at it. He brings in the drone, so all those pretty drone shots, especially when y'all were up on top of the convention center in New Orleans. That looked great. It's not just that run and gun news style that I'll bring.
Well, and after a few segments, I think we kind of got into the flow of this is what I need for editing, and he shot the sequences like I needed, so I think we make a pretty good team together.
You do make a great team, Kristen.
Well, thank you. That does it for this edition of TWILA.
We'd like to extend our warmest season's greetings to all of you, our viewers. We'll be on a bit of a break for the next few weeks, spending time with our families and loved ones, as we hope you do as well. We'll return in January with a brand new show from the American Farm Bureau Convention, the Centennial Celebration, which will be in New Orleans this year.
Until then, you can watch all of our stories online at twilatv.org, and be sure to like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter and Instagram. For all of us here at TWILA, Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, and we hope to see you again in a joyous New Year.